weren't even talking about the movie yet.
Oh, should we start talking the thing we don't want to do is talk about this movie.
What did we do?
And that's officially going to be our start. Yep, that's right. We sat and we watched the RoboCop remake from 2014. All right, Kevin, let's just do it, buddy.
So I did not see this in the theater
Neither
at
did
all.
I.
I was very skeptical
Yeah.
because I think at this point there's only maybe like two or three remakes of movies that I really enjoy. And this is not one of them yet at all.
No.
So I waited God knows how long until it finally came out on Netflix, and then I was kind of like, "Fuck!" I feel like I still overpaid.
Because
It's
what you're still paying for the subscription, so you did pay some sort of fraction of a cent.
yeah, like wowzer. Ugh, didn't want my fucking fees to go to that. And I feel bad because like it's got an entire cast full of wonderful people, brilliant people. Shit.
Well, that is basically one of the greatest things about this movie is the cast. Who they cast was excellent. Although you could argue some were miscast, they should have been in different roles. Like say Samuel L. Jackson would have been a great old man. He would have been a great CEO and president and founder.
Boner.
And Michael Keaton would have been better suited to be in Gary Oldman's role as the scientist instead of trying to play Batman on acid, but without any cool
uh,
tech.
yeah, they one of the biggest problems I had with this movie was other than the fact that it totally missed the point of the first movie.
Oh, by a country mile.
Yeah, like it took characters and developed characters with backstory and then completely changed that characteristic by the end of the film
Yeah.
just to make it fit the ending or the plot. Michael Keaton turns out to be a bad guy, I guess.
Kinda.
And it's like he's really nice and considerate all the way up until this point for like 2 hours. And then suddenly he's a cocksucker pointing guns at kids. It didn't feel right at all. At all.
It felt very forced at that point. Like he could have played. They basically took the character from like the TV show where he clearly he was all about the bottom line and the money. We need money, blah blah blah. But he also seemed to actually have a bit of a heart
Yeah.
up until like the last 20 minutes of the fucking movie. And I was like, what are you doing here? Like, I get it. You're trying to subvert expectations. And yes, this is a term that came after that. Thank you, Game of Thrones, for doing that to us. But for this movie to try that, it tried way too hard to be clever, and nothing was clever about anything. The writing is the biggest enemy of this movie because there's no real enemy in the movie otherwise.
That is
Because the
true.
script sucked.
That's true. I was trying to find, well, doing the side by side comparison that I did, and I'll throw it up later. It's like the first thing I put on there is villain. Okay, so in the first movie, you've got Clarence Boddicker, you've got Dick Jones, and you've got OCP as a body.
Yep.
That's a pretty full plate for a 90-minute movie. This had an extra 30 minutes to it with no bad guys, no villains, none whatsoever.
No.
And there was nothing menacing about the Ed 209s or the 260s, whatever they were called.
The 208s.
208s.
It was
Okay.
like the EM 208 and the Ed 209s. Like the same. They kept the name, but man, I was watching that. I'm like, why are we watching Cylon's Battle RoboCop? Oh, wait.
Well, see, yeah, that's one of the things. It's like they took that song concepts from Mystery Science Theater and applied that to fucking general writing. It's like take everything you can, just throw it at the fucking wall. And none of it stuck at all. Like the writing was forced, completely forced.
And all over the goddamn map.
Yes, like you talk about fan service. I tend to like fan service, but at the end where he's telling Keaton that he's under arrest, he basically tells him, I'm the only reason why you're alive. And well, dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Ugh.
What warranted that fucking response? Like he wasn't even pointing the gun at that point.
Well, and at that same time, I know you got your little chart here, and we'll get to
Oh,
that in just a second. But like, honestly, I'm thinking there's nobody instilled any prime directives in this guy, like none at all. He's just, oh, we just trust he's a cop and he's going to follow his programming. Well, at least with the other movies and the show and even the mini series, listing the prime directives was always a big point, just to remind you subtly, like, these are the things that I must obey regardless, even if I have to debate them amongst each other. And then if there's a classified one, there was no classified, hey, I'm OCP, you can't fight against us because we created you. There was none of that either. And I'm thinking, boy, you missed like everything that made RoboCop interesting. You missed everything. And even with the dead or alive, you're coming with me, it just fell so flat. Like, way too late in the movie to pull off a line like that. I know it's trying to be clever. It's not clever. It's just
no.
not. Like, I understand they went through a bunch of different scripts. I would be very curious if all of them were better than this, but they settled on this because this was way too kid friendly, mainstream friendly, and they needed it to be a big success. MGM, I know you needed money, or whoever made this movie, Sony, but dudes, you can't do this kind of movie anymore.
No, the closest that you can come to RoboCop, the original, that's still made today would be like Deadpool, something that you know is going to be completely ass backwards violent, but funny. Like you take it for what it is because it is Deadpool. Uh, shit, even RoboCop 2, you could take for what it is. If you've seen the first RoboCop, you're like, oh, okay, well, this isn't so fucking crazy after all, or it doesn't get any crazier anyway.
Right.
This had no gonzo to it at all, and I know that's what they were trying to go for, was the serious story to it, but the serious story wasn't there.
It did not work at all.
No, that's why Verhoeven didn't go with it the first fucking time.
Yep, because he passed on this, as you told me.
Yeah, this was a script that he had them rewrite. He saw what they'd done at the 90-page treatment, uh, and just realized that having that humor and the social commentary and the satire of capitalism was the way to go with the picture. That was going to make the picture singular, and he was right. And this movie suffered not from a director who's never directed a blockbuster before. It suffered from a director who's never directed a blockbuster being badgered by a horrible production company the entire time and being told, no, you can't do that. You have to do this. Sure, you could do that, but if it does this instead. Jose Padilla just faced nothing but shit for this movie, and I feel bad for him in that regard.
Yeah, there's clearly talent. You can see the talent just beaming throughout, from the great cast to like the shots. Some of the editing was really good. I mean, yes, you can argue pacing and plot, blah, 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 but the actual work into this was really good. Like, some of the action scenes were fun. There wasn't very many of them. And when they did do them, it was over before you realized it, except for the big one at the end where he's fighting the Ed 209s.
Which I know what they were going for there. They were going for more of them being a
Right.
scarier situation, or even like higher stakes for Robo.
It was like a video game end level.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is, because that's how I play fucking video games. That's exactly how you win at fucking Evil Dead. You go straight towards the fucking center, so everybody gets killed by the fucking old ones or whatever. It was very similar to that. Like, he would lure the Ed 209 towards the other Ed 209, and they would shoot each other. It was a video game tactic. It really was. But when you have multiple bad guys like the Ed 209, I don't think it makes the situation any more menacing when the battle's still only like 20-30 seconds. Like all it really does is make them bigger sissies. We had one Ed 209 in the first movie, one RoboCop 2 in the second movie, and those were more than enough. Like it didn't need to be several drones.
Right. I completely agree. I mean, some choices were made that didn't need to be made, but for what we did get, yeah, it was a bit video gamey, but the action scenes were fun and well designed. But I mentioned design, and then I'm looking at the design of RoboCop, and I'm like, no, that Cylon cop does not work for me. And I will
No.
make that joke because they look like goddamn Cylons from Battlestar Galactica or Kit from Knight Rider.
He was trying to look like Judge Dredd.
I mean, the bike was fucking awesome. Loved that. That was fantastic. The outfit, the design, no, not so much.
No, none of it said RoboCop. None of it said cop in general. Like this scene here, I know we were talking about it last week. They were like making fun of this the same way that they were making fun of Harley Quinn's costume in Suicide Squad. You make it look silly and you insist that it's silly. That doesn't make it silly. It just makes you a fucking prick, and you're insulting the audience's intelligence because they too think you're a prick. This was supposed to be the original designs or based on the original designs in 85. I still don't know why they went the way that they did instead of something like this. This again is the character for
It
one
would have
thing.
worked.
Yeah, like RoboCop's image is pretty timeless. All they did by making it sleek and black was make it look less like a police officer. It like there was no policing in the whole goddamn thing.
He just was arresting people straight up. He wasn't stopping any crime, stopping any rapes from happening, or anything like that. It's just, I show up, you're arrested, you're arrested, you're arrested. I'm going to shoot you, you're arrested.
Yeah, there was really nothing to it. And again, the suit looking more like a Cylon or some Black Ops deal
Or
didn't look like,
Guyver.
yeah, it didn't look like Robo Guyver.
Hey, you're welcome.
But Guyver's cool. Uh,
Yeah.
this was like Robo Independent Contractor is really what they should have called the movie.
Robo Tractor.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have been, excuse me, about Alex Murphy. It should have been about Jackie Earle Haley's character because he was the coolest character in the whole fucking movie.
And they even nerfed him too.
Yes, like his fucking decision to turn on his product that he's been working on in training didn't really work so much because they'd already had a level of playfulness and respect in a way, albeit by electrocuting the fuck out of one another. But it kind of goes that way with training. It was one of those, again, another one of those moments that it was a character change, a heel turn that just didn't make sense or didn't need to be. I know they needed to have him fight somebody, but he shouldn't have been able to fight just a human being. I don't know. I know they had the red code instead of directive 4,
Right.
which in itself was stupid because it worked for Jackie, but he was able to kill or shoot Batman at the end, and you're like, no, he shouldn't have been able to break it one way or the other.
Yeah.
I don't know. They took a lot of creative liberties that didn't make sense in general, but didn't make sense to the character, and that was even worse.
Well, and they also went way too serious without having any sort of levity, any sort of jokes, and I can count on my hand how many jokes there were in this movie that actually landed for like me. I can't speak for everybody else, but I can count only 3 times I actually laughed during this movie.
I
And two of them were Sam Jackson.
okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you his motherfucker at the end was pretty funny. But anytime
Yeah.
something is bleeped out, I can't help but to laugh because again, it's like I'm not hearing a dirty word. I'm hearing what could be a dirty word in my head, and it just makes me giggle. It's Pavlovian at this point. But anytime Sam Jackson says motherfucker, it's like you have to smile. It's it's just a rule.
I kept expecting him to say, I've had enough of these motherfucking robots in this motherfucking city. We're done. We're out. Broadcast over.
Kinda. I honestly, I can't think of any parts that I really laughed at it that other than like being laughing at it meanly, not laughing with it or because of it.
The only other one I remember off the top of my head that's not the Sam Jackson one, is the one where Murphy's like, what, can I electrocute an asshole in a tin suit? And they're like, sure, why not? And then he shot him with the electric zapper. That I thought was pretty funny. So, but like,
Yes.
the only other villains in this movie, as we're talking about, are like these low-level crime idiots that are not memorable, have no intimidation going on. One needs a freaking haircut and to grow a beard to look menacing. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, none of the villains in this at all were remotely interesting to provide a counterbalance to RoboCop. Even RoboCop 3 had a villain, for fuck's sake, that would annihilate this movie by itself. And I know we said we were skipping RoboCop 3 and we were going to watch this instead. I kind of wish we had watched RoboCop 3 instead.
We make mistakes occasionally. It happens once or twice a year. Like this movie is like notably having no villains. You're going, okay, this movie here had Clarence Boddicker, Dick Jones, OCP as this like worldly entity. And this movie here has Antoine something or other. Like, did you get the guy's fucking name? I didn't.
Yeah, it was Anton. Nobody gives a fuck.
Exactly. And the changes that they made sucked. Like, why have a partner in general if the partner's not actually with him at all at any given point in time in the film?
I felt like he bookended the fucking movie. Like, you see him mostly in the beginning and maybe a minute or two in the middle, and then at the end.
Yeah, I mean, he's the smartest motherfucker in the movie that doesn't actually work for Omnitech or whatever it was called.
Right.
Just by telling the rest of the SWAT team, like, put down the guns and they won't see you. Like, oh, smart.
One of the few smart things in the script.
Yes. Which goes back to the he didn't hear it. He didn't hear it.
That would have been hilarious if they threw all their guns down and they were like, you now have 5 seconds to comply. 0.
Oh,
and then they
shit.
started shooting them. Just straight up. That would have been a funny glitchy Ed 209.
But it's like the only thing I think that really like made me laugh was how angsty RoboCop was. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
they put him out there to be like Riggs, but have him do a Vin Diesel impersonation. It's like I've seen this actor be an action hero in other
He's
films before. Like,
awesome.
let loose the reins, let him off the fucking leash, and let him do something fucking cool.
Joel Kinnaman is awesome. Altered Carbon. You got the Hannah series on Amazon that he was fantastic in. You got Randall Flagg. You can go down a list of everything he's done since this movie that proves he could have nailed this role if it was better written. And like I told you myself, I thought he was a great Alex Murphy until he got blown up. After that, it's like, what are you doing to this poor actor who is definitely the same level that he could bring the same amount of energy that freaking Peter Weller did? You had a great actor for Alex Murphy and RoboCop, and you only let him be a good Alex Murphy for the first 30 minutes of the movie. Then the last hour and a half, you fucked it up, people.
We're gonna take our ball and throw it.
And it's
Wherever
going
it goes,
home and we're staying here.
kinda like it's gonna go play another game over there. I don't know what they were really wanting to do with this. I mean, obviously, I know the studios want to pack more butts and more seats, so
Right.
they need to get that PG-13 rating. But there wasn't a whole lot of anything in here, no situations in general that would warrant a whole lot of violence in general. It's a lot of laser tag. It's a lot of robots going kablang, kablang, kablang. Not a whole lot of blood, which you do expect that from the RoboCop movies. Like it's been a it's kind of like having Evil Dead with no blood. It's silly. It's not Evil Dead.
Well, the goriest thing we even got in this was basically the anatomy they saved for the suit. I mean, obviously he gets the head and he keeps the hand, which I guess is a play on the original movie where they're like lose the hand. Here they keep the hand and they keep the lungs and the throat. And it's like, the fuck are you doing?
Well, I mean,
Maybe the heart too. I don't know.
yeah, they've got his hand here on like
Uh,
it looks like this wire, so it's like the bar just goes up and down like this for his hand.
hand down, Kevin. YouTube.
Oh, what? Oh, sorry. So that's the lungs and the face. And again, very angsty because you just sit there basically screaming.
Yeah.
Is that frightening? Sure, but it came off as silly. It really did.
It looked goofy more than horrific. Like
Yes.
I'm looking at that and I'm like, no. You should have just kept him in the
Yeah,
suit
like
the entire time. So you didn't know exactly how much they kept it didn't keep.
well, see, that was the glory of the first RoboCop. Like all you ever saw was Murphy's face.
And you knew he lost one arm. You didn't know about the other.
Right.
Or it was decided to take off both, but you didn't know about the rest of them.
Exactly. Like some of it could have been inside the suit. This they left nothing up to imagination, which you want to say sounds cool because you get to see everything, but that's not always what makes a magic trick cool. And
Right.
that really did kind of take things away from me.
Yeah.
I don't know, that and the magic wing. But I felt bad. He's sitting there like screaming and crying and shit because he's nothing but major organs, and I just felt like he needed one minor organ, just one.
Which our lovely host has tried to blur, and now he's trying to
I'm
maybe
just
switch screens so that
I'm sorry, I can't have the mouse hooked up to the laptop while the microphone and the camera's going. We're not that far advanced tech wise yet.
nope.
I need to get a clicker. That's what we need.
Clicker.
Chris always has a clicker.
Okay.
No, but let's see. Did I actually miss anything important? Yes, the cookie cutter ending. I know we talked about how everything was predictable and silly, but then they started doing things that didn't make sense. First and foremost was Michael Keaton turning the gun on Alex's wife and kid and taunting him. It's not just the act of him fucking threatening a woman and child. He's taunting their father and husband over it. That wasn't really him. Like he didn't seem like the sadist type before. And they use a trope to basically waste time while it's supposed to be building up suspense. The bad guy could be leaving with the family while Alex is fighting the two Ed 209s down below. But really, all it was they took the ending of Batman, where the Joker's got to go way the fuck up the cathedral and wait for his helicopter. And that's exactly what we're having here. And they ripped that ending off so fucking hard that they brought goddamn Batman back with him. So it's like, I don't know. This really was the ending to Batman, except for they just didn't drop Keaton off the edge of the fucking building at the end.
I mean, they had a Commissioner Gordon down in the science lab, and they just left him there to go tell the story to the world.
Kinda, which is nice for him. Nice for him, I guess. Um, the
I
fact
love
that they
Gary
didn't
Oldman.
rub him out was very interesting.
You know, I think that might have had a greater impact if they had actually offed his character. Like, none of the major characters literally died in this except for like these low-level punk criminals, and like the trainer.
Did Jackie die?
He, I thought he did.
He might have. I need to go.
I
I
am not
don't.
rewatching this movie. I no, not doing it. I know he shot like fucking Keaton in the head though, but
Yeah, that was good times. I mean, I felt bad because again, it is Batman, but Keaton plays a wicked bad guy when he wants to.
oh, he was great as Vulture in the Spider-Man movies.
Oh, sure, yeah. And
That's when
then
I'm like, that's more like it.
what's that movie that he was in with Andy Garcia?
Uh,
Uh,
Pacific Heights or something like that.
Something to that effect. He was a serial killer that matched Garcia's son's bone marrow, and he got loose during the bone marrow transplant.
Shit, I don't remember the name of that one. But if
Uh,
anybody watching this video does know what that movie is, put that comment below so we can.
I'm too lazy to Google it. I've got four other computers here, but I'm not Googling shit.
Yep.
But he was a wonderfully wicked bad guy in that. And again, just to go over it, there was no bad performers in this movie. You've got Michael Keaton, Sam Jackson, fucking Gary Oldman, and Jackie Earl Haley. Like, these are some of the most brilliant actors of our generation or of film history in general.
And yeah, fucked it up.
Kinda, yes. And these are all people that they don't want to be in a bad movie. They
But
don't
they
want to
will.
be you know, I look at it this way: when Frank was defending um, Rob Schneider when he did the animal, and people kept asking him why he did the animal, and Frank says, "I know why he did it. That fucking paycheck.
Yeah, it's
Why
all
the
about the
fuck not?"
green.
And I know, like certain people have an integrity to their repertoire. Other people just want to do things that sound cool. And Sam Jackson is one of those people that's a little bit of both. Like, he doesn't want any old dumb shit in his fucking repertoire, but probably the idea of being in RoboCop was probably awesome as fuck to him.
When he
So
signed on, it might have been a different script and the money was going to be very good. And then he saw probably the final script at shooting, or as they were revising it while shooting, and he's probably thinking, well, my stuff's pretty good. I don't know about the rest of this movie.
do I get to be in a robot scene?
Or do I
Well,
get to bounce off of Michael Keaton? Because if it's, I take Michael Keaton every time.
I mean,
Because I would.
sometimes there are movies that will just like cross great actors just to have them be in the same scene together. And it works out really well. And other times it doesn't. Like, there was I think it was a John Cusack movie that had Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman in it. And they were only in the movie together for like 30 seconds, but it was the first and only time they'd ever shared a screen together. So it's worth watching, I suppose. This didn't even have that, with the very slim exception of Jackie and Michael Keaton, or Gary Oldman. I keep wanting to say Voldemort. No,
Uh,
Sirius Black. I'm going to stop fucking up names at this point. um, I I lost myself again because I was fucking up the names. It just, a lot of their characters didn't make sense. They had actors that could have done great things, probably wanted to do great things, and like you said, they saw a script that said one thing at the beginning, and that probably changed every day during filming.
right.
So
That's what I'm afraid of with what happened. Because by all accounts, this should have been pretty awesome movie. Might it have been as classic? We'll never know. But with a better script, you could have made better use of their talents. Like Sam Jackson looked like he was having a good time, at least. Keaton looked like there was something he could bite into without going full bore into it, which he would eventually get with Vulture. And then, Joel Kinnaman, clearly we know what he can do. And then Jackie Earle Haley, nobody blames him for the Friday or nope. Bad
Be
Host,
nice.
Nightmare
Be
on Elm
nice.
Street movie. He is not the problem with that reboot of Nightmare on Elm Street. He's not. It's everything else about that movie was fucking horrible.
Yeah, I mean, shit. He got Robert Englund's approval. That's really pretty much it for me.
That's all you really need. It's like if you do a new Friday the movie, does Kane Hodder approve of who they got? And
yes.
He liked Derek Mears in the remake of Friday the 13th. That's fine by me. If he's got his seal of approval, yes, he'd like to do another one. You could shoehorn him in, you can make it work. You could have gotten Peter Weller in this. He would have been a great fucking old man too.
That would have been fun. That would have been a nice homage.
Like a nice,
as opposed to
if you're going to flip it and do like a Terminator, God, I don't mean to do Terminator Genesis where you make like frickin' him the bad guy, but it's not a bad idea on paper. It might have been shit for my idea, but I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to do something of a little bit of a twist, or even like Bill Murray in the Ghostbusters remake, which never mind. I'm talking myself out of that idea.
He wants to be a ghost, damn it. And then Harold had to go up and die and take that idea.
Harold did it better.
Oh, and that's how we got canceled, kids.
No, what I mean is like because he was the ghost in Ghostbusters Afterlife, he did it better because he was the first person to actually do ghosting. I mean, I know it was all CGI and he didn't really say anything at all, but they took like Bill Murray's idea and they just gave it to him instead, and it played off much better. So I'm saying like Harold did it better.
And then it makes it even sadder because it's actually Ivan Reitman that's the body of Egon in that scene. And now he's gone. It's like, fuck. I'm so emotional over Ghostbusters. I'm 43, cry over Ghostbusters.
And regret that we watched a RoboCop movie, which is really hard to admit to.
The last thing I guess I could pretty much say, because I don't want to rag on this picture the entire time. Everybody knows we didn't have a good time with it, and pretty much everybody knows what it is, which is just bubblegum caca. The cartoon is better than this movie. I have watched 3 episodes of the cartoon, and it's way fucking better than this movie. In the first episode, he straight up shoots a guy in the fucking chest. Way better than this fucking movie. Like,
spoiler alert, that's actually our next podcast episode after the one that drops this Wednesday.
Yes. And it's doesn't sound like it's going to be cool, but it's going to be. The series is a lot better than you would think.
The RoboCop franchise in general, there are some good entries and there's not so good entries as I look at the Cylon light looking at me in your screen.
I mean, honestly, the only thing wrong with RoboCop would be part 3 in this movie. Everything else, maybe SummerSlam. Not SummerSlam. God, what was that where he was in the cage with Sting?
Oh, anyway, Slamboree or Spring Stampede?
I think so.
The WCW wrestling from years ago where they had RoboCop help Sting. And the poor 4 horsemen that were, or I think it was JJ Dillon that was locked in a cage or whatever. They were all out and Sting needed help, and out comes RoboCop slowly walking to the ring. I mean, say what you will about RoboCop, they did at least let him run in this movie.
And I know that's cool for kids that don't know what robots used to move like. I know everything's smooth motion now. It looked better when it was clunkier. It added to that authenticity, I think.
I don't know, like a tank was coming at you, not a speed bike.
Yeah. Or a fucking a full-on fucking Volkswagen Bug that hasn't had its fucking engine fixed in years versus a new Bug that's an electric car and you don't hear it coming at all. Very apples and oranges of how they used Foley as well as design for this. And I didn't like it. It should be cooler, but it's not. It's less cool to me.
Yeah, this movie is a bit long. The editing or pacing, rather, it definitely needs work. They could have probably cut out about 20 minutes of this movie, tightened it up. I mean, script notwithstanding, not really great. I mean, I felt the movie was interesting up to a point. And then once we got to the 40-minute mark to the end, it's just like, is this over yet? Oh God, how much longer is left? And you pull up the screen to see how much time's left, and it's like, oh God, shoot me. And I swear to God, the last 20, 30 minutes, I'm just sitting there like, oh Jesus Christ, this needs to end. This just needs to be over. Oop. And I'm sorry, there are sprinkles of goodness to this. It's not enough. And I can't recommend this movie, but it's good to have a fun conversation about it and, talk to everybody else about it too and bounce it off with my buddy who just wants to rip off Batman.
I love Batman. I can't say nothing bad about Michael Keaton.
Here's Batman.
This movie was just bad. And everybody that was in it tried to elevate the movie higher than what it obviously is, and they just couldn't. Nobody working together could make anything good as a whole, but I guess their individual scenes were great up until his heel turn where he starts pointing the gun at the kid. Then it's stupid, but otherwise Keaton's just as brilliant in this as he was as the Vulture, and he was legitimately fucking scary in that movie. Fucking threatening a 15-year-old kid, whether he can fucking spin up a web or not. He's threatening to kill a fucking kid.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, the movie. Only other thing I'll say is it's not very toyetic. You couldn't even sell toys from this because the toys, for kids that actually probably saw this, they're like, I ain't fucking buying a toy for this. Fuck that. Give me something really cool.
Like, there was nothing cool to it. The sleek and skinny robot man, there was nothing amazing to it that would make a kid want to be that or imagine that being a hero of any sort of type. And it didn't do anything that required a hero.
Right.
It just didn't do anything. And I think that's the overall theme and moral of this movie. Don't do anything.
Yep, this is just another one of those remakes that nobody was asking for, nobody was looking for. But hey, there is something fun coming later this year with RoboCop Rogue City. Peter Weller came back to do the visuals for reappearing as RoboCop in the video game coming out. That is slated for early October. Maybe we'll do some fun stuff for that at that time. But I am Jeff, and that's Kev. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.